Welcome to today's Explainer. Have you ever felt like you're working incredibly hard, but, just kind of spinning your wheels financially? Today, we're diving straight into that universal pain point of financial struggle and mapping out three very different philosophies for escaping it. We're going to break down the distinct strategies of Dave Ramsey, Robert Kiyosaki, and the Bogleheads, visualizing exactly how they think about money, debt, and wealth creation.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll look at escaping the rat race, Ramsey's baby steps, Kiyosaki's cash flow rules, the index fund advantage, and finally, some reality checks.
All right, part one, escaping the rat race and identifying the trap of that endless paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. So, we got to start by asking ourselves a pretty crucial question. What is your daily hustle actually building for your future? I mean, so many of us are just running on pure autopilot, right? Gulping down that $5 morning coffee, rushing out the door to work, just trying to survive until the end of the month. But where's all that actually taking you?
Robert Kiyosaki hit the nail on the head when he called this the rat race. You're basically wrestling this tar baby of monthly bills. Your whole life ends up being dictated by two emotions, the fear of going broke and the desire to buy stuff the second that paycheck hits. Oh, you got a raise? Cool. You just go buy a nicer car. You're trapped in the maze. So how do we actually break out?
Let's check out our first map out of the maze. Part 2, Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps, the traditionalist route to zero debt.
Dave Ramsey's approach treats debt like it's literally public enemy number one. His map isn't about, complex investment math or some secret Wall Street loopholes. It's pure, strict behavioral modification. He argues that living paycheck to paycheck without a written plan is exactly what keeps you trapped in money stress. The only way out is to fundamentally change your habits and ruthlessly eliminate every single liability.
The really crucial takeaway here is that this linear 7-step method is designed to totally clear out your liabilities before you even think about building wealth. I mean, investing 15% for retirement doesn't even happen until step 4. First, you build a tiny safety net, then you attack your debt using the debt snowball, paying off the smallest balances first to build up some psychological momentum. Only when the debt is entirely dead do you build a full emergency fund and start investing. It's a highly structured ladder right out of the maze.
Moving on to a totally different approach, Part 3, Kiyosaki's cash flow rules. This is the entrepreneur's map to acquiring assets.
Kiyosaki completely flips the script here. True financial escape, according to him, comes from focusing on your balance sheet's asset column, rather than obsessing over your income statement. Most folks are just trying to climb the ladder and get a higher salary, right? But Kiyosaki argues the real secret is redirecting that income straight into the asset column to buy things that will generate even more income for you.
And the contrast in cash flow is just staggering. For the poor or middle class, income flows straight out as expenses, or even worse, it gets trapped in the liability column, paying off mortgages and credit cards. But wealthy cash flow, it's a closed loop. Their assets, things like real estate, stocks, intellectual property, are actively generating their income. They aren't working for money at all. Their money is working for them.
So Kiyosaki insists you really need to mentally separate your day job from your business. And by business, he means the relentless acquisition of real assets that work for you 24 hours a day. Keep your day job, sure, but focus all your extra cash on that asset column. Don't go buy a shiny new car that loses 25% of its value the second you turn the key. Buy things that actually put money back into your pocket.
All right, let's look at our third map. Part 4, the index fund advantage, the data scientist's map to passive wealth.
Now this is where the maps violently diverge. While Ramsey advises picking actively managed mutual funds that have beaten the market over the last decade, the Bogleheads bring hard data to the fight. They show that top-tier mutual fund performance almost never persists over time. Chasing a fund just because it did well last year? It's kind of like driving down the highway at top speed while staring into your rearview mirror. Instead, they champion low-cost, passive index funds.
Just look at this SPIVA data. It's absolutely staggering. Over a 20-year span, up to 98% of actively managed funds actually fail to beat a simple passive index fund. Why? Crushing fees. And hey, remember that $5 morning coffee we talked about earlier? The coffee effect is where the Boglehead approach really shines, relying on the sheer mathematical miracle of compound interest. If you just took that $5 a day and redirected it into a low-cost index fund, over the decades the market does all the heavy lifting to turn that pocket change into over $1 million. It's a passive strategy that creates massive wealth.
But look, we have to be objective here. Part 5, critiques and reality checks, looking at the friction between these financial gurus.
Because no single map is perfect, mapping the blind spots is absolutely vital. Critics are quick to point out some serious, potentially costly flaws in both the Ramsey and Kiyosaki camps. From super expensive advisor networks to incredibly risky timelines, let's impartially break down the reality checks.
Looking specifically at Ramsey, critics heavily scrutinize his SmartVestor Pros. These endorsed advisors actually pay Ramsey's organization for those leads. And worse, they aren't even required to be fiduciaries. That means they aren't legally bound to put your financial interests above their own commissions. Critics point out they often push high-fee products charging upwards of 2%. Basically, you're paying a premium fee just to drag down the very compound interest you're trying to build.
On the flip side, financial analysts like John T. Reed take an absolute sledgehammer to Kiyosaki's philosophy. Reed highlights some pretty dangerous claims, like Kiyosaki saying he doesn't care if his net worth halves or doubles overnight. Critics warn that Kiyosaki sells these highly volatile, extreme risk maneuvers to financially inexperienced readers, making them sound totally foolproof. But in reality, those maneuvers could easily trigger total financial ruin.
Yet, when we synthesize all these maps, a profound shared truth really emerges. Whether you prioritize killing debt like Ramsey, acquiring cash-flowing assets like Kiyosaki, or just letting the math do its thing like the Bogleheads, you have to actively direct your money. You absolutely must build your financial intelligence and pay yourself first. You can't just react to the maze. You have to actively build your own way out.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a challenge. What new asset are you building today to buy back your future? Are you destroying a debt, funding an index fund, or, just buying another cup of coffee? The map you choose is entirely up to you, but standing still, well, that pretty much guarantees you stay trapped. Thanks for hanging out with us, and keep building that financial intelligence.